The sea holds secrets that no map has ever shown. Waves whisper stories older than kingdoms and older than time. Among them is a legend of a flame that never fades. It is said to rest within the Trident of Poseidon, Lord of the Oceans. Not a weapon, but a beacon, guiding harmony between sea and shore. The eternal flame, untouched by water, unbroken by storm, unseen by all. Only those who listen to the ocean's breath can hear its distant call. Fishermen speak of strange lights dancing beneath the midnight tide. Sailors swear the stars bend lower when the flame awakens. Some believe it guards the heart of the sea itself, hidden yet alive. Others claim it waits for a seeker pure in purpose, not in power. Tonight, we begin a journey across waters where myths still breathe. You will hear echoes of forgotten isles and voices in the deep. You will follow currents that bend time and reveal ancient memory. The path is not marked by steel or battle, but by spirit and choice. This is the tale of the Trident and its eternal light. This is where the ocean begins to speak. The harbor was quiet, though the night carried the scent of salt and the creak of resting ships. Lanterns swayed gently, casting golden circles that trembled on the darkened water. Somewhere, a lone gull cried, and its echo folded into the silence like a forgotten prayer. On the wooden pier sat a traveler, cloak damp from the mist, eyes fixed on the horizon. He was not from this town, nor did he intend to stay. But the sea had drawn him closer. Every port holds its share of stories, some fragile as smoke, some heavy as anchors. This night, an old sailor began to speak, voice as rough as driftwood rubbed by tide. He leaned against a barrel, pipe in hand, the flame glowing faint like a star about to fade. "You've come far," the sailor said, though no introduction had been offered. The traveler nodded silent, for words often stumble when mysteries rise. The sailor's eyes glimmered, reflecting a memory more alive than the present hour. "Have you heard of the flame?" he whispered, low enough for only waves to hear. The traveler's brow lifted, curiosity shaping itself like wind fills a sail. "Not fire as you know it," the sailor continued, "but light that burns beneath the sea." The harbor seemed to hush, as if the tide itself leaned closer for the tale. "They say it rests within Poseidon's trident, hidden where no hand dares reach." The words hung in the air, glowing brighter than the lanterns above them. "Many chase storms for glory," the sailor muttered. "But this is not for glory." The traveler shifted, heart thudding with a rhythm he had not felt before. For stories sometimes arrive not as fables, but as doors waiting to be opened. The sailor took a long breath, smoke curling like serpents before vanishing. In the deep, the eternal flame guides balance between land and water. It is not claimed, only revealed, to those who listen more than they demand. The traveler let silence grow, for silence is often the truest question. At last he asked, "Where does one begin such a search?" The old man smiled, a tired curve that carried both warning and invitation. "Begin where echoes are born," he said, "an isle where your voice returns as prophecy." The traveler felt the piers shift beneath him, though the sea was calm. The name of no island was spoken, yet the direction was clear in his bones. The sailor's gaze drifted to the horizon, as if his own past had sailed that way once. "Not all return," he added softly, though not with fear, rather with reverence. The traveler did not flinch, for journeys worth taking are always carved with risk. He rose, cloak brushing against the damp wood, footsteps steady, purpose heavier now. The old man tapped his pipe, scattering embers like stars that fell too soon. You'll know the isle, he whispered, for the sea itself will sing your name. The night deepened, folding the harbor in shadows and secrets alike. Ships groaned softly, ropes tightening as though restless for departure. The traveler stood by the water's edge, watching ripples bend light into silver threads. Somewhere, the first step of the journey already echoed, though feet had yet to move. The eternal flame was not yet in sight, but its call had been heard. The harbor kept its silence, but the sea began to hum with promise. And the traveler, nameless still, carried within him the weight of a legend reborn. The tide shifted gently, as if to say, "The story has begun." The moon was high when the traveler left the harbor, its glow silvering the path across dark waters. Waves lapped softly against the wooden boat, steady as a heartbeat guiding the vessel forward. The air smelled of salt and distance, carrying hints of journeys yet untold. The traveler rowed in silence, each pull of the oar echoing like a promise into the night. He carried little but a cloak, a lantern, and the memory of the sailor's words. Somewhere beyond the horizon waited the isle where echoes were born. But the sea does not reveal her secrets without her own designs. As hours slipped past, the sky deepened, clouds drifting like forgotten sails. The traveler lit his lantern, its glow trembling, barely a spark against the vast ocean. And then, upon the wooden planks, he noticed a scrap of cloth caught between boards. It was damp, marked with strange ink, faded yet alive in the moonlight. He pulled it free and spread it open, discovering lines drawn in delicate curves. Not a map of land, but of water, marked by tides and shifting currents. Symbols shimmered faintly, visible only when the lantern light touched them. It was as if the sea herself had written upon the fabric, guiding the seeker. The traveler's heart quickened, for this was no chance discovery. He recalled the sailor's smile, weary yet knowing, and wondered if this had been left for him. The cloth revealed paths bending like rivers, yet drawn upon open sea. Lines twisted into spirals, arrows pointing not to stars, but to the movement of tides. In the corner lay a circle, inked darker than the rest, like a hidden moon. He traced it with his finger, and the fabric seemed to hum faintly beneath his touch. At that moment, the waves shifted, pulling the boat gently off its course. The traveler did not resist, for the current moved with quiet intention. He folded the cloth carefully, tucking it within his cloak, close to his chest. The map of tides was not merely ink, but a living guide bound to the ocean itself. The sea grew calmer, though beneath its calm there was a deep, resonant pulse. It was not the beat of waves, but something older, echoing in rhythm with the traveler's own heart. He gazed at the horizon, where water met night in a seamless stretch of silver. The stars above seemed to shift, aligning as if to mirror the map in his cloak. For a moment, the sky and sea spoke the same language, one of movement and flow. The traveler whispered to himself, not words, but gratitude carried on breath. He felt no fear, only a sense of being guided, as though chosen by the tide. The boat drifted with purpose, every ripple carrying him toward the unseen isle. Lantern light flickered, reflected in waves like a trail of scattered suns. The night was vast, yet he no longer felt small within it. Instead, he felt part of its design, a thread woven into a greater current. He closed his eyes, letting the sound of the sea write its story upon his spirit. The map would reveal itself in time, but for now, trust was enough. The traveler rested his oars, and the boat glided onward, steady as fate. Above, the moonlight thinned, veiled by drifting clouds. Yet the path remained clear. For the sea had claimed him now, carrying him toward the next chapter of her secrets. And far ahead, beyond sight, but not beyond knowing, the Isle of Echoes waited. The night deepened, but within it burned the promise of dawn yet to come. The story moved forward, and the traveler was no longer alone upon the tide. The sea was calm when the first outline of land rose from the mist, pale as a shadow at dawn. The traveler leaned forward, breath caught, as jagged cliffs took shape against the horizon. It was not marked on any map, yet the isle seemed older than memory, carved by silence. Waves rolled gently, but each crash against the rocks rang like voices trying to speak. He let the boat drift closer, oars resting, heart tuned to the rhythm of the shore. Soon the cliffs gave way to a narrow beach, its sand silver under the morning sun. No footprints marked it, no sign of travelers before him, only the whisper of wind. The traveler stepped onto the shore, and at once the air felt heavy with presence. Every breath carried echoes, faint but clear, repeating not his voice, but thoughts unspoken. He tested it, speaking softly, "I seek the flame." The isle replied, his words reshaped, "You seek yourself." He paused, startled, for it was not mimicry but truth spoken in disguise. The cliffs ahead formed a natural arch, a doorway of stone leading inland. Beyond it lay a forest of tall trees, their trunks pale as bone, leaves dark as ink. He walked slowly, each step answered by whispers that followed like invisible companions. The forest floor was soft, covered with moss that glowed faintly in the shade. Every rustle carried meaning, every bird call seemed woven into a hidden language. At the center of the grove stood a pool, still as glass, ringed by stones. The traveler knelt, gazing into it, and saw not his reflection, but countless faces. They were strangers, yet familiar, like memories he had not lived, but only inherited. The echoes rose again, voices weaving into a single question. "What is it you seek?" He closed his eyes, speaking slowly. "The flame of Poseidon, the eternal light." The pool shimmered, and the echoes repeated. "The flame of truth, the eternal choice." He reached toward the water, but before he could touch it, ripples spread outward. The faces dissolved, replaced by symbols he had seen before on the cloth map. Lines twisted into spirals, forming a path that pointed deeper into the isle. The traveler stood, heart steady, for the echoes had shown what words could not. As he walked onward, the voices grew softer, blending with the hum of leaves. It was not warning nor threat, but guidance shaped in sound and silence. The path climbed upward, leading to a ridge where the sea stretched endless below. From this height, the island seemed alive, breathing with every gust of wind. And then he heard it, faint but distinct, a voice not of echo, but of presence. It was as though the island itself spoke, beyond reflection, beyond disguise. "You walk where many have turned away," it said, steady as tide, patient as stone. The traveler bowed his head, for reverence rose unbidden like tide to moon. "I will not turn," he whispered, and the air warmed as though in answer. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of salt deeper inland toward hidden places. He followed, guided not by sight, but by trust in the voice that lingered. Soon he came to a cavern mouth, shadowed yet glowing faintly with unseen light. The echoes here were stronger, filling the stone walls with endless repetition. Yet among them, one voice was clear, calling him by name, though none had been given. He stepped inside, the sound surrounding him like a tide that could not be resisted. The cavern pulsed with resonance, every wall a mirror of sound, every step a chord. At its heart stood another pool, deeper, darker, yet burning with silver fire beneath. The voices stilled, and silence fell, vast and complete, as if waiting for him. The traveler knelt, and the cavern whispered a single word that carried the weight of destiny. Begin. The cavern walls shimmered with faint light, as if the stone itself breathed in rhythm with the sea. The traveler moved carefully, each footstep echoing like a drum beat within a vast cathedral of waves. He followed the glow deeper, where shadows curled and parted like curtains of living mist. Soon he reached a hall of coral, rising from the ground like spires of frozen fire. The coral pulsed with color, soft blues and gentle golds, humming a sound like distant song. At the center stood figures, tall and radiant, formed from pearl, coral, and shimmering sea glass. They did not walk, but floated slightly above the ground, graceful as tides at dawn. Their eyes glowed faintly, mirrors of the ocean, reflecting storms and calms alike. The traveler paused, heart steady yet awed, sensing no threat but undeniable power. One figure raised its hand, and the cavern fell into silence deeper than silence itself. A voice rang clear, not from lips, but from the very water in the air. You have entered the Chamber of Guardians, keeper of the Trident's first secret. The traveler bowed his head, cloak brushing against coral that seemed warm to touch. I seek the eternal flame, he said, words calm but carrying weight like anchors. The guardians glimmered brighter, as if his truth had awakened something long asleep. One stepped forward, its form shifting with the colors of sunrise across an endless sea. You seek not fire, but balance, the voice intoned, and balance cannot be taken. The traveler listened, letting the truth sink like rain into dry soil. Another guardian extended a hand, and from it flowed a ripple of light. The light became images, showing seas raging without harmony, storms unending. Then the vision shifted, showing shores thriving when the flame burned bright. The flame does not destroy, the guardian said. It unites what is divided. The traveler lifted his eyes, steady though awe pressed heavily against his chest. What must I do? He asked, voice carried like a whisper through the cavern. The guardians turned as one, their forms weaving into a circle of living light. From within the circle rose a shell, glowing with hues of ocean dawn. It hovered before him, humming with a gentle, pulsing rhythm. Compassion, they said together, voices blending like tides against endless shores. Without compassion, the flame blinds. With compassion, the flame guides. The traveler reached for the shell, but paused, letting the silence speak first. Then, gently, he lifted it, feeling warmth spread through his hands and heart alike. It was not heavy, yet it carried the weight of oceans, vast and immeasurable. The coral chamber brightened, every surface glowing as if in acknowledgement of his choice. The guardians bowed their heads, not in surrender, but in welcome. You are seen, they spoke, and you are tested. Ahead lies the path of echoes, fulfilled. The cavern trembled softly, not with danger, but with release, as if doors had opened. The traveler held the shell close, listening to its hum, steady as a heartbeat. He turned toward the tunnel ahead, where the light deepened into a shimmering passage. Behind him, the guardians faded, returning to stillness like coral returning to reef. Yet their song lingered, weaving through the stone a hymn of harmony eternal. The traveler stepped forward, carrying compassion as his compass, the shell as his guide. And in the distance, the sea whispered louder, as though Poseidon himself had stirred. The journey was far from complete, but its heart had begun to awaken. The isle exhaled, and the path of the eternal flame opened before him. The tunnel stretched before the traveler, winding like a serpent of light through ancient stone. Every step echoed gently, as though the earth itself whispered its approval or its warning. The shell in his hand pulsed softly, warm against his palm, guiding him with rhythm like a heartbeat. Shadows gathered along the walls, not menacing, but curious, bending and shifting like waves of thought. At last the tunnel opened into a cavern vast as the sky, filled with crystalline waters. The ceiling shimmered with reflections, stars upon an ocean that lived beneath the earth. The traveler stepped closer, his reflection bending and warping upon the glassy surface. Then came a sound, soft at first, like the ringing of bells deep under the sea. The waters stirred, spiraling, until a figure rose from their depths, radiant yet calm. She was crowned with kelp-like woven emeralds, eyes bright as moonlight upon the tide. Her presence filled the cavern, not with weight, but with harmony, like wind filling sails. The traveler bowed, respectful, knowing he had entered the realm of another guardian. "I am Thalassa," she said, voice flowing like currents, both gentle and unyielding. "You seek the eternal flame, yet first you must learn the wisdom of tides." The traveler listened. Silence his offering, patience his strength in the presence of truth. Thalassa lifted her hand, and the waters parted, revealing scenes of shifting shores. He saw fishermen who thrived when they gave, but faltered when they took too much. He saw sailors guided home by stars, yet lost when they ignored the winds. "The tide teaches balance," she said. "It rises, it falls, it gives, it takes." The traveler breathed deeply, feeling the weight of her lesson as steady as the sea. "Without respect, the flame fades," she continued, "for the ocean spares none who forget balance." The shell in his hand glowed brighter, its pulse now resonating with her voice. Thalassa's eyes softened, carrying both storm and calm, judgment and mercy. "You carry compassion," she said, "but will you carry respect when tested by hunger?" The traveler lifted his gaze, his answer not spoken, but written in the stillness of his stance. She smiled faintly, waves rippling outward across the crystalline pool in gentle rings. "Then take this," she whispered, raising her hand once more toward the water's heart. A pearl emerged, glowing like a captured dawn, floating toward him in shimmering arcs. It hovered above his palm, beside the shell, both humming in unison like twin stars. The cavern glowed, water reflecting patterns of light across every surface of stone. "This pearl is not wealth," Thalassa said, "but memory, to remind you of balance eternal." The traveler accepted it, bowing again, his gratitude carried not in words, but in silence. The waters calmed, the figure faded, dissolving back into ripples of endless blue. The cavern dimmed, though its song lingered, waves echoing wisdom deep into his mind. He turned once more to the path ahead, guided by the hum of shell and pearl. The tunnel beckoned, its light shifting like dawn breaking upon an unseen horizon. The traveler stepped forward, steady, carrying both compassion and balance within. And somewhere beyond the stone, the eternal flame stirred, awaiting its next guardian's truth. The air grew cooler as the traveler advanced, the tunnel narrowing before opening into another chamber. This cavern was unlike the others, its walls carved with spirals of stone like frozen whirlpools. A faint wind moved through, carrying with it scents of salt, pine, and distant rain. The shell and pearl in his hands pulsed together, steady as breath, guiding his focus forward. At the chamber's heart stood a circle of stones, each etched with flowing, ancient runes. Water trickled from cracks in the ceiling, pooling at the circle's base like liquid silver. The traveler stepped closer, feeling the stones radiate warmth and chill in alternating waves. Then the air shimmered, and from the stones rose a figure tall as tides in storm. He was cloaked in deep green, beard woven with strands of kelp, eyes fierce yet kind. His voice thundered like waves breaking on cliffs, yet softened like foam retreating to sea. "I am Nereus," he declared, "the old man of the sea, keeper of the third trial." The traveler bowed, steady though the cavern's weight pressed down like the ocean itself. "You carry compassion and respect," Nereus continued. "But do you hold truth?" The words rang heavy, echoing in the chamber until they became rhythm like waves. The traveler raised his gaze, meeting the guardian's eyes without trembling or turning aside. Nereus lifted a hand, and the pool of silver water swirled, becoming a mirror. "Look," he commanded, "and see what truth demands when shadows tempt with comfort." The traveler gazed into the mirror, and visions rose like storms upon calm waters. He saw his own face, older, wearier, tempted by riches that glittered brighter than stars. He saw paths where lies brought ease, where silence hid injustice, where comfort betrayed duty. The mirror shimmered again, showing faces of strangers, trusting his words, leaning on his guidance. "If truth falters," Nereus intoned, "trust dies, and the flame burns only to consume." The traveler clenched the shell and pearl, their warmth steady against the chill of vision. "I will not falter," he said, voice calm though the images pressed heavily upon him. Nereus's gaze softened, like dawn breaking through clouds after long, restless storms. "Then take this," he said, drawing forth a shard of crystal from the stone circle. The crystal glowed pale blue, shaped like a wave frozen in motion, yet alive within. It floated toward the traveler, resting beside the pearl and the shell in harmony. The cavern brightened, every rune flaring with light, casting spirals of silver upon the walls. "This crystal binds truth," Nereus said. "Carry it, or lose yourself when shadows offer lies." The traveler bowed again, gratitude flowing not in words, but in silence deep as sea. The guardian faded into mist, dissolving back into the stones that birthed his form. The pool calmed, reflecting only the cavern's ceiling, its visions gone, but not forgotten. The runes dimmed, leaving only a faint glow to mark their enduring presence. The traveler stepped away, carrying 3 gifts, 3 lessons, 3 anchors of his journey. The tunnel stretched ahead once more, glowing faintly with promise of another trial waiting. The air stirred gently, like the sea inhaling before the rise of a coming wave. He walked forward, truth burning bright within him, compassion steady, respect unbroken. And in the distance, deeper than stone, the eternal flame pulsed, alive, aware, awaiting. The tunnel curved downward, winding like the descent of a river into deeper currents of the earth. The air grew warmer, laced with the scent of minerals, salt, and faint embers long asleep. The traveler's footsteps echoed softly, mingling with the hum of shell, pearl, and crystal combined. Ahead, the glow shifted from silver blue to a low golden radiance, like dawn beneath the sea. The cavern opened, vast and round, its walls veined with molten streaks of amber light. At its center lay a pool of glowing water, steaming softly, its surface swirling in spirals. The traveler approached slowly, reverence guiding his every step upon the stone floor. The pool stirred, and from its depths rose a figure cloaked in flames that did not burn. Her hair flowed like fire made of water, her eyes fierce yet calm as twin horizons. Her voice rang clear, both storm and lullaby, carrying weight and gentleness in equal measure. "I am Pyra, guardian of the hidden flame beneath the tides," she declared with solemn grace. "You carry compassion, balance, and truth. Yet tell me, do you carry courage?" The word hung heavy, echoing against the glowing cavern like a drumbeat of destiny. The traveler straightened, his heart steady, though unease pressed against him like deep water. Pyra raised her hands, and the pool rippled, revealing visions drawn from threads of time. He saw storms rising higher than mountains, sailors lost and calling for unseen hope. He saw paths that ended in despair unless one dared step forward against all odds. "Courage," she said, "is not fear's absence. It is movement in spite of its shadow." The traveler clenched his hand around the crystal, its coolness anchoring him to truth. The pearl glowed, reminding him of balance, while the shell pulsed with compassion's rhythm. He bowed his head, whispering softly, "I will walk forward, even when fear surrounds me." Pyra's flames flared brighter, dancing like sunlight upon waves at the horizon's edge. "Then take this flame," she said, drawing forth a spark that burned yet did not consume. The spark hovered before him, golden and alive, a piece of fire without heat or smoke. It drifted into his grasp, merging with the other relics, singing in harmony of purpose. The cavern walls glowed brighter, molten veins pulsing as if the mountain itself breathed. Pyra's gaze softened, her flames folding inward, her form becoming part of the pool once more. "Carry courage," she whispered, "for the path ahead will test it more than all before." The pool calmed, its glow fading to a quiet shimmer, though the warmth lingered in the air. The traveler stood taller, holding shell, pearl, crystal, and flame, his steps steady as tide. The tunnel ahead revealed itself, lit by a thread of light weaving into unseen distance. He walked forward, courage steadying his pace, his heart aligned with compassion and truth. The earth trembled faintly, as though Poseidon himself stirred in recognition of his journey. The eternal flame burned beyond, alive, eternal, waiting for the next trial to unfold. The tunnel rose upward now, as though the earth itself urged him toward higher realms of discovery. Air grew lighter, touched with the scent of blossoms drifting from unseen gardens beyond stone. The relics in his grasp hummed together, their rhythm weaving into a single, harmonious song. At last, the cavern opened into a vast chamber, lit by shafts of sun piercing from above. The ceiling was broken, a skylight carved by time, where light danced like golden ribbons. The traveler stepped forward, heart lifted by the warmth that touched both stone and skin. At the center of the chamber stood a tree, roots sunk into rock, branches stretching skyward. Its leaves shimmered like emerald glass, glowing faintly as though they breathed with the wind. Birdsong echoed, though no birds were seen, only shadows darting like fleeting whispers. From behind the tree stepped a figure, tall, robed in living vines, crowned with blossoms. Her eyes were green as spring's dawn, her voice carrying the fragrance of rain upon earth. "I am Gaia's handmaiden," she said, "guardian of life's bond, keeper of the fifth trial." The traveler bowed, sensing not power, but a depth of gentleness strong as tides. "You carry compassion, balance, truth, and courage," she said. "But do you carry gratitude?" The question struck deeper than any vision, soft yet sharp, like roots beneath soil. Gratitude, an offering, not for treasures gained, but for breath, for tide, for fleeting dawn. The handmaiden touched the tree, and visions spilled from its bark, like flowing light. He saw fields of grain, rivers alive with fish, forests thriving with untold creatures. Then he saw hands that took and took, blind to the gifts they consumed. The flame, she said, withers where gratitude dies, for it thrives only in giving hearts. The traveler closed his eyes, breathing deep, letting her words soak into marrow and mind. He remembered faces that had aided him, winds that had carried him, tides that had guided him. He bowed lower, pressing his hand to the earth in silence, his gratitude unspoken, yet true. The relics pulsed brighter, their hum swelling with harmony as though echoing his heart. The handmaiden smiled, branches above swaying though no wind stirred the cavern air. Then receive this seed, she said, placing a glowing acorn-like gem into his palm. It shimmered golden green, alive, beating faintly with the rhythm of a living heart. The seed joined the others, its light weaving threads of gratitude into their song. The chamber glowed brighter, blossoms scattering light like stars across stone. Carry this gift, she whispered, for gratitude will steady you when triumph tempts pride. The tree shivered once, scattering leaves that dissolved into light before they touched the ground. The handmaiden faded with the glow, her form blending into trunk, branch, and root. The cavern grew still, save for the eternal birdsong echoing from unseen skies. The traveler stood, holding shell, pearl, crystal, flame, and seed, his spirit anchored stronger. The path ahead revealed itself, glowing with soft green light leading deeper into the earth. He walked forward, gratitude lighting his step, courage steadying his breath, truth guiding his way. Far ahead, the eternal flame stirred once more, awaiting his heart's next revelation. The traveler descended once more, the green glow fading into shadows, touched with silver blue. The air grew cooler, alive with faint echoes like waves brushing against hidden shores. A tunnel stretched downward, carved with spirals that shimmered as if carved by moonlight itself. The relics at his side vibrated, their harmony shifting into a tone soft as twilight song. At the end of the passage, the cavern widened into a lake of mirrored glass. Its surface rippled though no wind stirred, reflecting not the traveler, but shifting constellations. Stars shimmered across the water, moving as though the sky had fallen into its depths. On the far side of the lake stood a gate woven of silver, light, arched, and tall. The traveler stepped closer, the water's edge glowing beneath his feet like liquid moon. From the lake rose a figure, not emerging but forming, born of reflection and light. She was cloaked in silver mist, her face veiled, yet her eyes shone like twin moons. "I am Selene's emissary," she whispered, voice flowing like tide, keeper of the sixth trial. "You hold compassion, balance, truth, courage, gratitude. But do you honor the mystery of silence?" The question drifted into his chest, soft yet infinite, echoing into spaces no words could reach. The traveler lowered his gaze, listening, though no sound but the lake's hush surrounded him. The emissary lifted her hand, and the mirrored waters stilled into perfect stillness. "Silence," she said, "is not emptiness, but the womb of wisdom, the breath between tides." Visions bloomed across the surface. Storms raging, seas calm, stars fading into dawn's hush. He saw people speaking endlessly, their voices drowning out truths resting in silence's heart. The relics pulsed slowly, as though urging him to quiet the storm within himself. The traveler closed his eyes, his breath steady, surrendering not to void, but to stillness. In silence, he heard the steady beat of life, the flame of his soul whispering. Moments passed timelessly, yet when he opened his eyes, the emissary's gaze softened. You understand? She said. Silence is the keeper of flame, guarding against arrogance of noise. She reached into the water and drew forth a silver orb glowing with pale radiance. It drifted upward, resting weightless in his hands, cool and calm as moonlit dew. This is the orb of silence, she said. A fragment of stillness gifted to guide your heart. The orb merged with the other relics, weaving its glow into their symphony of light. The cavern brightened, stars across the lake shimmering brighter, as though breathing with relief. The emissary's form dissolved, returning to reflection, her eyes fading last into silver ripples. The gate of silver light across the lake pulsed once, then shimmered open, inviting him forward. He stepped onto the water, his feet pressing ripples that sang like bells fading into silence. Each step was steady. His heart no longer rushed, but in rhythm with stillness itself. When he reached the gate, the relics glowed as one, their hum deep as ocean's core. The silver arch swallowed him in light, carrying him into a new passage carved of stars. He walked on, orb of silence within him, gratitude behind him, courage before him. Far ahead, the eternal flame flickered, waiting to reveal its next sacred truth. The passage of stars carried the traveler into a realm where sky and sea became one. Above him, constellations shimmered. Below him, the same stars swayed upon endless waves. He walked across a bridge of light, spun from threads of starlight that curved into infinity. The relics at his side glowed brighter, their harmony now deep as a choir of worlds. At the bridge's end rose an island floating in space, its shores woven of radiant sand. The ocean surrounding it was not water, but light, waves flowing with golden luminescence. At the center stood a temple of crystal, its spires reaching into endless heavens. The traveler stepped ashore, his heart both humbled and lifted by the sight before him. A voice resonated through the air, neither loud nor soft, but vast as eternity itself. I am Astraeus, it said, keeper of the seventh trial, guardian of vision beyond sight. From the temple emerged a figure clad in robes shimmering like galaxies at birth. His eyes contained stars, yet also mirrored the depths of still oceans in twilight calm. You have gathered compassion, balance, truth, courage, gratitude, and silence, Astraeus said. But can you hold vision? The gift to see not what is, but what may be. The traveler felt a tremor in his soul, as if new doors stirred within him. Astraeus raised a hand, and the sky above shifted, flowing like paint across a canvas. Visions poured forth, kingdoms rising, falling, seas thriving, seas dying, futures branching like rivers. He saw himself walking countless paths, each choice altering the tide of lives unknown. The sight overwhelmed him, a storm of possibilities, dazzling yet blinding in its weight. Vision, Astraeus spoke, is not the burden of knowing all, but the grace to guide one path. The traveler closed his eyes, letting the torrent of futures slow into stillness within. He searched not for power nor certainty, but for a light steady in shifting tides. And within, he saw the eternal flame flickering, not as destiny, but as guidance. He opened his eyes, meeting Astraeus' gaze with clarity newly born within his soul. The keeper smiled, and from his palm blossomed a crystal sphere shaped of pure starlight. It drifted forward, resting in the traveler's hands, warm with endless skies, cool as dawn. This is the sphere of vision, Astraeus said, a light to pierce illusion and guide truth. The sphere merged with the relics, weaving its brilliance into their symphony of glowing harmony. The temple brightened, its crystal walls refracting starlight into rainbows across the floating sea. Astraeus faded into the stars, his voice echoing like a current moving through time. Carry this vision well, for it may wound as much as it may heal. The travelers stood upon the radiant sand, the relics now 7, their light alive with power. The bridge of starlight reformed, curving forward, beckoning him toward another realm beyond. He stepped once more onto the path of stars, each step ringing with timeless resonance. The sphere of vision glowed within, opening his heart to both wonder and responsibility. Far ahead, the eternal flame shimmered stronger, its light reaching out like a distant dawn. The path of stars curved into a vast horizon where sea, sky, and fire became one. The traveler stepped forward, the relics at his side glowing with a light that sang in unity. Compassion, balance, truth, courage, gratitude, silence, and vision. 7 gifts woven into harmony. Before him rose a final chamber, boundless yet centered upon a flame that defied time. The eternal flame of Poseidon burned not with heat, but with brilliance pure as dawn. It flickered in hues of gold and blue, never consumed, never fading, ever alive. The traveler bowed, his heart steady, his spirit open, his journey written in his soul. The flame pulsed once, its light spilling into waves that touched every relic he carried. They lifted into the air, circling him, weaving light into threads that wrapped his being. The gifts did not remain as objects, but merged into him, shaping spirit into wholeness. He felt the compassion of seas, the balance of tides, the truth of stars above. He held the courage of storms, the gratitude of earth, the silence of moonlit nights. And within him, opened vision, guiding his steps with wisdom tempered by humility. The eternal flame flared higher, and from its core emerged a figure vast and radiant. Poseidon himself, not as a ruler of war, but as a guardian of harmony eternal. His eyes shimmered like deep oceans, his voice rolled gentle as waves upon a quiet shore. You have walked the path not of conquest, but of understanding. Poseidon's voice resounded. You sought no crown, no dominion, yet you carry the heart of the sea itself. The traveler knelt, overwhelmed, but Poseidon raised a hand, calm as tide returning home. Rise, bearer of the flame, he said, for the sea does not demand worship, but respect. The flame drifted from its core, dividing into sparks that sank into the traveler's chest. Warmth spread within him, not burning, but illuminating, filling every part with living light. You are now a keeper, Poseidon said, guardian not of power, but of balance eternal. The chamber dissolved into waves of light, carrying him upward through ocean, sky, and stars. He emerged upon the shore of his own world, yet nothing felt the same as before. The sea stretched wide, whispering not with mystery, but with kinship, alive and listening. Fishermen spoke of tides calmer, sailors found stars clearer, storms softened with unseen hands. The traveler walked among them, not as hero, but as one who carried quiet light. He offered no boasts, no tales of triumph, only kindness, only wisdom born of journey. The relics were gone, yet their gifts lived in him, flowing in every word and act. At night, when waves kissed the sand, he felt the flame stir softly within his heart. He knew it was not his to own, only his to keep, until another sought its path. For the eternal flame was not a prize, but a promise, a light to guide the world. And so his story became a whisper, carried by waves, sung by winds, remembered by stars. The sea remained eternal, the flame forever alive, awaiting the next soul who dared listen. And thus ended the tale of the Trident eternal flame of Poseidon, but not its light.